talk about banning books, by the way. Never have been, don't intend to. At the last meeting in November, I read from a book in the library titled Tricks, which received well over 1,000 views on Channel 22, telling us that there's a lot of interest in the type of books that some of them are that have been put in the library. Hopefully a lot of parents are waking up now to the ongoing process the public schools, and not just Dover, but most of the public schools are using to implement social emotional learning, defined as doing student surveys on their values and beliefs, and then diligently working to change those into far more progressive ones. And parents need to know that any non-academic surveys done with their kids must have their prior approval written. Not always happening. Concerned citizens and parents are identifying the school library books with inappropriate sexual content. And the list is rapidly growing. 39 so far in this public school system that are overtly not just sexual, but we're talking about 6-year-olds practicing oral sex on each other. We're talking about a tiny child having sex with an adult. This isn't regular sex. We don't have trouble with normal adult relationships, whatever they are. And in some school districts, the school board doesn't even have access to the online library app called Sora. I'm not quite sure how this works or how that happens, but maybe that's part of the problem here. Maybe all of you don't have access to Sora and you can't see how horrible some of these books are. Who's deciding what gets in the libraries? Who's deciding what's getting taken out of the libraries, like history books and other things? Many of the books need to be more age appropriate if they're going to be available. Some of the books in the high school, boy toy, sex between a 13-year-old boy and an adult. Me and Earl and the Dying Girl, tons of talk of oral sex. Eleanor and Park, lots of sexual activity, very juvenile. Beyond Magenta, girl talking about performing oral sex on boys from age 6. Looking for Alaska, step-by-step of kids exploring sex as very young children. Meanwhile, back on the school agenda, our test scores on the state reading and math proficiency tests are still 35 to 38%. And this has been going on for 10 years. Now, the state has just signed into law 2 new school requirements as of this year and next year. Students must complete coursework in U.S. and New Hampshire civics and government, and a course in personal finance literacy must be completed before graduation. The question is, how, with all the sexual distractions and confusion and the white privilege and all the other stuff that's been thrown into the students' agendas, how are kids going to be successful, not just with the new requirements, but get their test scores higher so that they have... Minute. Well, I had some interruptions behind me for a minute, so. How are they going to get their test scores up in math and reading and get the other requirements finished? Somebody has the wrong priorities here. And we're planning on next year's budget, so I suggest we get some different priorities in the budget. And let's get rid of Great Schools Partnership and New Hampshire Learning Initiative, who are the vendors pushing white privilege and social emotional learning, and focus on the basics. Thank you.
Bravo.